So we are moving on to day 3 of top 10 week. Again, you guys are choosing the topics. I'm just kind of doing the ideas for you. And so today we are going into the, again, third day where we're going to be talking about 10 fragrances that I didn't really like at first, but now I ended up growing to love. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So without further ado, what's good, my great smelling dudes? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Randy, aka Fragrance Dude, back at you with another fragrance video that you guys selected the topic. So before we get into that, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know some fragrances that you got in originally or you tried out originally, you didn't really like, and then all of a sudden you grew to love them over time. So again, that is the topic today, chosen by the person who I will put up there. So thank you for the idea. Again, this is top 10 week for anybody who's just joining us. What I'm doing is over the next 7 to 10 days, I'm going through and you guys gave me some ideas for top 10 videos that I am creating the videos based on those. So you guys are the ones with the bright ideas. So again, top 10 fragrances that I didn't like at first, but I ended up growing to love. Starting with this one. This one is already known across the fragrance community as being very divisive because of it's just not for everybody. This is Kenzo Homme Eau de Parfum. This is also getting harder and harder to find. I'm not sure exactly why, but this fragrance is kind of like a leathery tropical blue. Like, even though it's not a tropical fragrance, it kind of comes off like a leathery, beachy blue. It has this like darker resinous tone, but it also has a freshness to it, which I think that's really where it draws people back, is that it kind of leans itself to being this, like going to the beach or going to, whether you're out on vacation or something like that, it leans itself to being like a vacation scent. But at the same time, it's like darker and it has this leathery tone in it. So, I mean, it's not necessarily for everybody. And that's why when I first tried it, I actually really didn't like it at all. But now, anytime I smell it, I really can't get enough of it. But that's Kenzo Homme Eau de Parfum. And it lasts 8 to 10 hours plus. I mean, it's a pretty decent projector as well. But that's I would say a transitional season scent, but you can wear it all year round. It's definitely good in the heat. But I would say the best time to wear this would be like late afternoon, early evening on a warm summer day. That's probably the best time to wear it. This one, another beachy scent, I guess you could say. When I first tried it out, it just wasn't for me. I was really new into the fragrance community and just it wasn't for me. But this is Creed's Millesime Imperial. Millesime Imperial is musky salted melon. And it doesn't smell like anything else that exists in the fragrance community outside of the things that are cloning it. It smells like if you had just like a rich person that had like the most expensive salt and the most expensive watermelon and melons that you could possibly afford. And then you just mix that together with a base of like a very elegant fragrance. That's just like an elegant musk. That's kind of like what this fragrance is. It has a slight little bit of floral and woods to the fragrance. And as you get to the dry down, a little bit of woods, a little bit of sweetness comes in. But for the most part, this is a musky salted melon. So don't get it twisted. And it's just, when I first wore it, it was like the first 3 or 4 times I wore it, I was like, I don't understand the hype to this. But now it's like one of my top 5 fragrances, top 3 fragrances. I mean, it's really freaking good. It's definitely one of mine, either my number 1 or number 2 Creed, depending on if it's this or Virgin Island water. It goes back and forth. But Millesime Imperial, fantastic bottle, fantastic fragrance. So the next one on my list, I'm telling you, this one doesn't get a lot of love. And when I first started wearing it, it was okay. So not like a hate or anything like that at first. But it's just like over time, I realized every single time I wear this, I get a compliment from somebody, or at least somebody asking me, where do you buy that? Like whether it's a girl for their boyfriend or a guy looking for himself, or if it's my wife just saying you smell great, I get a compliment every time. Burberry Hero Eau de Parfum. I don't like the original. And the Parfum is honestly just too much. The original is more woody. It's like not terrible. It's just an average fragrance. The Parfum is just too much. I don't understand what they were doing with that. But the Eau de Parfum, it's kind of like If you took the original and you mix it together with like Spice Bomb, or not Spice Bomb, like Stronger With You, it has this kind of like nutty pine feeling to it, and it has the spices underneath, but it's a spicy, warm night out fragrance that's definitely better for transitional seasons and also winter. So I would say spring, fall, winter. And it lasts a long time. It has a nice magnetic cap. I mean, this is probably the best Burberry outside of Burberry London that I've worn in a long, long time. And I know a lot of people don't really give it that much love, but I'm telling you, it's a compliment magnet. Whether or not you like it or you think it might be generic or whatever, it's a compliment magnet. But I have to say, at one point in time, I was there with you. I felt the same way. So it is what it is. Going into the next one. This one is also a divisive fragrance. A lot of people either love or hate it. Cedrat Boise by Mancera. So there's this notion out there that a lot of people don't like it because it is too leather dominant. I actually don't get that much leather, but it's funny because the first 2 times that I wore Cedrat Boise, I got a crap ton of leather and oak moss. I don't know what it was. It was just like so much that I couldn't deal with it. And I actually said I might return this fragrance. I remember I got it from Joma Shop or something like that. But then it was like, I came back to it like a month or so later. And I decided not to return it. I was like, I could use it for videos, stuff like that, like this. And I realized when I sprayed it on, I was like, that leather is actually not very strong. There's hardly any oak moss in this. It's more of this kind of like creamy sweetness mixed together with that leather, that kind of green tones, some woods. I mean, it's a very beautiful, well-blended fragrance. And while the leather is there, when you have that sweetness in the woods and all of that mixed together, it really just, it kind of blends it into the background. So I don't know what happened the first 2 times I wore it, but Cedrat Boise, I really grew to love this fragrance. I don't really like the intense. It just kind of amplifies that leather. And so I could still wear it, but this is just fantastic. It's my favorite in that style of DNA. Like, I know a lot of people compare a lot of different fragrances from Aventus to Hachivat to Cedrat Boise, and while I don't think any of them smell alike, I'm just saying in that style of DNA, Cedrat Boise is my favorite. Going into the next one. This one has been a known love-to-hate fragrance for a lot of people, even though it's super simplistic. But my wife convinced my brain to like this fragrance a lot. It's Prada Rossa Black, or Prada Black. Discontinued now. It's an amber musky fragrance. That's really what it is at its core. It has a little bit of this and a little bit of that underneath it, but it's kind of like the night out version of the Prada Rossa line. It's amber, it's musk, it has a little bit of freshness and spice to it, and almost like a slight touch of iris. But I don't know why I always try to smell that, but Prada Rossa Black is just one fragrance that for almost 8 months, every time I tried it, I would try it every time I went to Sephora. I just couldn't get around to it. I didn't really like it very much. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what it was. It was just something that I didn't hate it. It's just, I just couldn't wear it. But then over time, you guys, if you follow my channel, you already know this. I've talked about this a bunch. Prada Rossa Black, I don't know what it was. It was one day, I went into Ulta, and me and my wife smelled it, and my wife didn't like it before that either. And she's like, what is that? I was like, that's Prada Black, the one that we usually don't like. She goes, I really like it now. And then I was smelling it, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to buy it. I was like, it's going to be discontinued soon anyway. So I bought it, wore it, and kept wearing it, and I was like, this is actually fucking good. So, yeah, Prada Rossa Black. If you're ever on that kind of edge where you're thinking that you might like something but not, at least get yourself like at least a 10 milliliter decant or something to try it out so you're not wasting away a fragrance that you might have a nice addition to your collection. But going into the other half of the video, the other 5. This one was more about my lack of know-how in the fragrance community. I didn't really know much about this style of fragrance. I wasn't a huge fan. I'm still not a huge fan of powders, but I really didn't like this or the Parfum whenever it first came out. This is Dior Homme Intense. There's really no reason why I didn't like this outside of just the basic, my nose wasn't adjusted to complexity in fragrances, like as complex as things like this and Cedrat was. At that point in time, I hadn't even broken into niche outside of Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille, so it's not like I had really much experience with that type of blend. But once I did, the sweetness, that kind of cacao smell that comes out of this fragrance, it really does pop up. It really does meld together, and it dissipates a lot of that powder in that lipstick that you get, especially more heavy in the Parfum, which again, I still just don't like that. It kind of comes off like lipsticky cinnamon to me, the Parfum does, but this one has a nice sweetness, really nice for the nights out, definitely better in the cool weather, but it's Dior Homme Intense, fantastic fragrance. This one is really based on just the main note that is the main ingredient and the main smell of the fragrance for the entire line. It was just, I wasn't adjusted to smelling something like this because I've never smelled it before. But this is Boss the Scent Private Accord. And when I first got this in, I did not know what Maninka smelled like. So really this could go for the original The Scent or Scent Le Parfum. Or this one, or Absolute, because at that point in time, I still wasn't adjusted to the note of Maninka. It's dark, fruity, but dusty at the same time, so it's not something that it's not a great seller. Every place that I've asked, and especially in the United States, the scent line isn't very, it's like on the bottom of the sales charts, because it's not like that popular of a fragrance. But I do have to say, with this one and the newest two, which is Magnetic and the Scent Elixir, they really did master this DNA where they have that dustiness, but they start to draw it down, adding in with this one chocolate. In the other ones, there's the Brand Absolute and the bourbon and the vanilla, and then in the last one, there's the pink pepper and spices. It's a really nice way they've been maneuvering the Maninka fruit. But when I first tried out this one, I didn't like it. I didn't like this. I didn't like any of the ones from the line. I think one of my first videos I did for this line, I was just like, I can't do it. It's not very good. But then I started getting acclimated to the smell of Maninka. That's all it was. But Boss the Scent Private Accord, if you ever tried it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's just this dark, fruity dustiness that you haven't smelled before until you smell that line. It's very unique. Maninka is, like, even if you look it up, there's not much information about Maninka fruit. So yeah, they really went out of their way for that one. So anyway, going into the last three, this one, it came off a bit feminine for me at first and a little bit too, I don't know what the word, like tart. This is Lacoste Lhomme Intense. I love this stuff now. I absolutely love it. Like, I wear it all the dang time. I mean, I even wear it right now. It's a nice day for it. But Lacoste Lhomme Intense, it's a blue, semi-spiced aromatic fragrance that is underneath a wallop of rhubarb. And so just kind of like the Maninka. If you don't know what rhubarb smells like if you haven't smelled like rhubarb pie or something like that, you don't know what rhubarb smells like until you smell it. And it kind of just has this unique strangeness to it. Well, I would say the rhubarb is a little bit easier to smell than the Maninka right off the top, especially if you're not used to it. It's still pretty unique, and it comes off very heavy. Especially, it's even heavier in this than it is in the Scent Private Accord as far as the Maninka versus the rhubarb. But Lacoste Lhomme Intense, it's a very beautiful fragrance, especially once that rhubarb starts to mellow out. It takes about 15 minutes to mellow out, but once it starts to get there, then you get that kind of like semi-blue mixture. Then you get the spices, then the aromatics, some lavender, some woods, a little bit of sweetness. Mix that all together with that rhubarb, and you have a nice 4-hour fragrance. That's what it is. It's about a 4-hour fragrance, and it's a nice spring and summer scent for sure. But yeah, Lacoste Lhomme Intense, for the price, you really can't beat it. As far as uniqueness, there's nothing else that smells like this. If you want like a unique fruity blue, that's the one to go with. But anyway, speaking of ones that I absolutely love, I mean, technically all of these I love. That's kind of what the video is all about. This one is very similar. I put these back to back because it's very similar to the reason why I didn't like Lacoste Lhomme Intense the first time, and because it was feminine. This one came off very feminine for me when I first tried it out, and I don't know what changed. It was like I had 2 decants, and those decants were very feminine, but once I bought the bottle, because my wife likes wearing it, the bottle didn't come off as feminine to me. It came off a little bit more green grassy. This is Nishane Wulong Cha. Wulong Cha, the original. So when I first had it, it came off very fruity tea. So very much like feminine. And I mean, it wasn't unisex leaning feminine. It came off very feminine. And so I even said to myself, I don't really like this, but my wife really liked it. So I went and I got a bottle of it. And then I tried it again. And when I tried it again, I got a lot more of that kind of like oolong tea, that darker tea. And then I got a little bit more of that fig, but it wasn't coming off as fruity. It was just a nice blend. And then again, I got this kind of like green grassy tone that I didn't get originally in the fragrance the second time around. And so that's why, and I mean, I still want to say it's 100% unisex, and it might be unisex slightly leaning feminine, but it's enough where I can wear it now. And I very, very much like this fragrance. I mentioned it's on a lot of my videos. It's very, very good. And it actually layers very, very well with Lacoste Lhomme Intense, because they do make Lacoste Lhomme Timeless, which is that same fragrance just with tea. And so you mix any tea fragrance together with it, and that's what I'll do today, actually. Let's just layer. Let's layer. They go really well together, so why not? But that is Nishane's Wulong Cha. Very beautiful, but again, I didn't really like it when I first tried it out. Going to the last one, and some of you guys who've been watching my channel over the last 6 months, you'll be really shocked about this one. My wife found out about this by somebody who came into her work. And when I first smelled it, I was like, no. I can't do florals, but I was very quick to change my mind. It was like second wear, or I think it might have been still the first wear, but like once I got to the dry down, but anyway, Tom Ford Soleil Neige. Tom Ford Soleil Neige, it was too floral for me the first time I wore it. But if you get to the dry down, it's like a tale of 2 different fragrances. So I ended up liking the dry down, which kind of smells like this creamy sunscreen sandalwood, but like very high quality, with a little bit of jasmine underneath it. But anyway, Tom Ford Soleil Neige, the second time, third time I wore it, I was just like, this stuff is getting better and better. It's almost impossible for me to not want to smell it. This is the best. And I'm telling you, for me personally, this is the best floral fragrance in existence. I absolutely love it. It's a unisex straight up fragrance for sure. And I would say the dry down might be unisex leaning masculine, while the opening's unisex leaning feminine. But it doesn't really matter. It's just a beautiful fragrance. It was too floral for me. It was something that I wasn't used to at that point in time, which is pretty much the theme of this video. About half of these fragrances, it was just something that my nose wasn't accustomed to yet. And I've never really, outside of maybe like Prada Black and Millesime Imperial maybe, those are really the fragrances that didn't really have anything behind it outside of, I just didn't like the smell originally. But anyway, Tom Ford Soleil Neige, really beautiful. Again, it's jasmine heavy, but then it kind of becomes this creamy, high-quality sunscreen with a nice creaminess behind it. But yeah, it's Tom Ford Soleil Neige, but that is 10 fragrances that at first I really didn't like them. It wasn't something I would plan on buying, but then I ended up really enjoying them. So yeah, let me know some of the ones that you did that with, and again, I will be back with another video. Thanks so much for tuning in. Peace out.